My name is Sarah, and I've always been the odd one out in my family. My parents had my brother Michael when they were just 22, struggling college students with big dreams. He was their golden child, their firstborn, the one who made them a family. I came along 7 years later, an accident, as I overheard my mother telling her friend once when I was 9. That single word explained so much about my place in our family dynamic. Growing up, I watched Michael receive endless praise for everything he did. His soccer trophies filled the mantle. His academic achievements were announced to every visitor. When he got into a prestigious university, my parents threw a massive party and proudly displayed his acceptance letter on the refrigerator for months. My accomplishments, by contrast, were acknowledged with quick nods and distracted, "That's nice, dear," comments before the conversation inevitably shifted back to Michael. I learned early on that the spotlight in our family was permanently fixed on my brother, with only occasional dim flickers in my direction when I did something truly exceptional. Despite this, I always tried to maintain a good relationship with my family. I called regularly after moving out for college. I remembered everyone's birthdays with thoughtful gifts. I made the 3-hour drive home for holidays and important events. I kept trying, hoping that someday I'd feel like a full-fledged member of the family instead of an afterthought. That hope died on my 28th birthday. I hadn't made any special plans. My birthday fell on a Tuesday this year, and I figured I'd just treat myself to dinner after work. My family had never made a big deal about my birthdays, usually just a phone call and perhaps a gift card if someone remembered. I didn't expect much, but I did expect something. The day came, and my phone remained silent. No calls, no texts, not even a generic happy birthday message on Facebook from any family member. By evening, I felt a familiar heaviness in my chest, that same feeling I'd had as a child when my birthdays passed with minimal acknowledgement while Michael's were celebrated with elaborate parties. "They're just busy," I told myself, sending a group text to my parents and brother around 9 p.m. "Hi everyone, just checking in, had a good birthday dinner by myself, hope you're all doing well." I received a brief response from my mother almost an hour later. "Oh, happy birthday, Sarah. Sorry, crazy day at work. Love you." That was it. My father and Michael didn't respond at all. I went to bed trying not to feel hurt. Adults don't need birthday celebrations, I reasoned. It's just another day. But deep down, I knew if it had been Michael's birthday, the day would not have passed so quietly. A week later, I was mindlessly scrolling through Instagram when I saw it. My cousin Jessica had posted photos from the previous week with the caption, "Family dinner last week was amazing. The food, the company, the celebrations. Can't wait for the next one. Family time, birthday fun." I froze, my thumb hovering over the screen. The images showed my parents, my brother, my aunts, uncles, and cousins all gathered around my grandmother's large dining table. There was a cake with candles. There were wrapped gifts. Everyone was smiling, raising glasses in a toast. A birthday celebration during the week of my birthday, without me. With shaking hands, I swiped through the photos. One showed my mother laughing with my aunt. Another captured my father carving what looked like a roast. Michael was there with his girlfriend. Even my grandmother, who rarely left her house these days, was present. Everyone was there. Except me. I zoomed in on the cake in one photo, trying to see if there was any writing that might explain this gathering. Maybe it wasn't a birthday celebration at all. Maybe it was for something else entirely. But then I spotted it, partially visible in one shot. The cake had blue frosting with writing that began with "Hap." The rest was cut off by someone's arm, but it was clearly a birthday cake. They had celebrated my birthday without me. The realization hit me like a physical blow. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. They hadn't forgotten my birthday. They had actively chosen to celebrate it without including me. Somehow that hurt so much more than being forgotten. I considered confronting them immediately. I drafted angry texts, deleted them, then drafted them again. I rehearsed phone conversations in my head, imagining the satisfaction of making them acknowledge what they'd done. But ultimately, I decided to say nothing. I wanted to see what would happen next, whether anyone would mention this family gathering to me. No one did. The days passed, and I withdrew from our family group chat. I stopped initiating calls. When my mother texted about random things, I responded with brief, polite messages. No one seemed to notice my emotional absence, which only confirmed what I had suspected for years. I was an obligation to them, not someone they genuinely wanted in their lives. Then, about a month after my birthday, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Sarah, honey," she exclaimed when I answered, her voice bright with enthusiasm that felt like sandpaper against my raw emotions. "How are you? We haven't talked properly in ages." "I'm fine," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "What's up?" "Well, we're having a dinner for Michael's birthday this Saturday. Nothing fancy, just family at Grandma's house. Can you make it?" I almost laughed at the irony. Nothing fancy, just the exact same gathering they'd had for my birthday without bothering to invite me. "I'll have to check my schedule," I said, even though I knew perfectly well I had no plans. "Oh, please try to make it," she pressed. "Michael would love to see you. He's been so busy with his new promotion, you know." Of course I knew. Every family conversation somehow circled back to Michael's latest achievements. "I'll let you know," I said. "Great. Oh, and what are you getting him for his birthday? Dad and I got him that watch he's been eyeing, the really nice one from that place in the mall, but I'm sure whatever you get him will be lovely too." The casualness with which she asked about a gift for Michael, after completely excluding me from my own birthday celebration, sparked something in me. A lifetime of being the afterthought, the obligation, the forgotten daughter crystallized into a moment of perfect clarity. "Mom," I said, my voice steady despite the emotions churning inside me, "what did you get me for my birthday last month?" There was a pause. Just a beat too long. "Well, honey, I sent you a message, didn't I? And I think your father transferred some money to your account." "He hadn't." "Actually," I continued, "I saw Jessica's photos from the family dinner, the one with the cake and presents, the one during the week of my birthday, the one I wasn't invited to." Silence on the other end. Then, "Oh, that. Well, we knew you were busy with work, and it's such a long drive for you." "It's 3 hours, Mom, the same distance I drive for Christmas and Thanksgiving, the same distance I drove for Michael's graduation party and Dad's retirement dinner." "Sarah, don't make this into a big deal. It was just a small gathering that happened to fall near your birthday." "With a birthday cake? And presents?" Another pause. "Well, yes, we did acknowledge your birthday, but without me." I could almost hear her mental scrambling through the phone. "Look, honey, sometimes things just happen this way. You're an adult now, not a child who needs a big birthday celebration. Now, about Michael's gift?" "Oh," I said, taking a deep breath before answering, "I thought, we don't do birthdays." The silence that followed was deafening. "Excuse me?" my mother finally managed. "I thought we don't do birthdays," I repeated, feeling strangely calm. "At least not mine, so I assumed we don't do them at all?" "Sarah, you're being ridiculous. Of course we do birthdays. We've always done birthdays." "You've always done Michael's birthdays," I corrected her, "and apparently mine too, just without me present. So no, I won't be getting Michael a gift, and I won't be attending the dinner." "You can't be serious," she said, her voice rising. "You're going to skip your brother's birthday because you're jealous? How childish can you be?" That word, childish, ignited something in me. How many times had my feelings been dismissed as childish, oversensitive, or dramatic? How many times had I swallowed my hurt to keep the peace? "It's not childish to expect basic respect and inclusion from my own family," I said quietly. "What's childish is throwing a birthday party for someone and not inviting them. What's childish is getting caught and then trying to pretend it didn't happen or that it doesn't matter." "We didn't throw you a party," she protested weakly. "It was just dinner." A dinner I wasn't invited to, with a cake I never got to see, with family members who apparently matter more than me. "That's not fair, Sarah." "No," I agreed, "it's not fair at all." I ended the call before she could say anything else. Then I blocked her number, along with my father's and Michael's. I needed space to process the depth of this exclusion without their excuses and justifications ringing in my ears. That night I cried for hours, not just for the birthday dinner I'd missed, but for all the years I'd spent trying to earn a place in my own family, all the effort I'd put into maintaining relationships with people who clearly saw me as an obligation rather than someone to celebrate and include. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of notifications, text messages from extended family members, voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize but assumed were my parents calling from different phones, and a particularly nasty email from Michael accusing me of ruining his birthday with my drama. I deleted them all without reading or listening to most of them. I wasn't interested in the family's collective attempt to make me the villain in this story. For once, I wasn't going to accept that role. A week passed, then two. I threw myself into work, spent time with friends who actually valued my presence, and started seeing a therapist to unpack the years of feeling secondary in my own family. The constant barrage of messages eventually slowed to a trickle, then stopped altogether. It seemed my family had decided that if I wasn't going to play by their rules, I wasn't worth pursuing. Then one evening, almost 2 months after I discovered the birthday dinner photos, someone knocked on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting visitors, and for a moment I considered not answering, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door to find my grandmother standing there, leaning on her cane, a determined expression on her face that I recognized from childhood. It was the look she got when she was about to set someone straight. "Grandma," I said, genuinely surprised, "what are you doing here? You never leave the house." "I leave when it's important," she replied, her voice as firm as ever despite her 82 years. "Are you going to invite me in, or shall we have this conversation in the hallway where all your neighbors can enjoy it?" I stepped aside and she made her way slowly to my couch, settling herself with a sigh. "I'm not here as anyone's messenger," she began, before I could offer her tea or ask about her journey. "I'm here because I'm ashamed and I owe you an apology." That was not what I had expected to hear. "I was at that dinner," she continued, "the one for your birthday that you weren't at. I asked where you were and your mother said you were busy with work. I accepted that because it seemed reasonable. But then Michael's birthday comes around and suddenly it's essential that everyone attend, busy or not." She shook her head, disappointment evident in her expression. "I realized something wasn't right. After your phone call with your mother, when she told everyone you were being difficult, I started thinking about patterns, about how often you're the one expected to accommodate everyone else, but rarely the one accommodated." I sat down across from her, too stunned to speak. "I spoke with Jessica," Grandma continued. "She told me she had tagged you in those photos without thinking, not realizing you hadn't been invited. When she found out the truth, she was horrified. We all should have been horrified." She reached out and took my hand in her weathered one. "Sarah, what they did was wrong. Not just the birthday dinner, but years of making you feel less important than your brother. I saw it happening and said nothing because I didn't want to interfere. That was my mistake, and I'm sorry." Tears welled in my eyes. After months of being gaslit about my feelings, hearing someone, especially someone from my family, validate my experience was overwhelming. "They're saying I overreacted," I said quietly. "That I'm being childish and dramatic." "Of course they are," Grandma replied with a snort. "People don't like being called out on their bad behavior. It's easier to label you as the problem than to admit they've been treating you poorly." "What am I supposed to do now?" I asked. "I can't just pretend it didn't happen, but I also don't want to lose my entire family." Grandma was quiet for a moment, considering. "You don't have to do anything right now. Give yourself time, heal, and remember that family should be earned, not just given because of blood. Your parents and brother need to earn their place in your life, just as you've been trying to earn your place in theirs all these years." She squeezed my hand. "And know that not all of us are blind to what happened. Jessica sends her love. So do your cousins Mark and Lily. We're here for you, even if we've been quiet about it until now." Grandma stayed for dinner, and for the first time in my adult life, I felt like someone in my family was genuinely interested in my life. She asked about my job, my friends, my apartment. She listened when I talked, really listened, without steering the conversation back to Michael or my parents. As she was leaving, she handed me a small, wrapped package. "It's a bit late, but happy birthday, Sarah." Inside was a delicate silver bracelet that I recognized immediately. It had belonged to my great-grandmother, then to Grandma. "I was going to give this to you at the dinner," she said, "but this is better, just us." After Grandma's visit, I felt stronger, more certain of my worth and my right to be treated with respect. I still hadn't unblocked my parents or brother, but I began reconnecting with the extended family members who had reached out in support. 3 months after the birthday dinner incident, I received a letter in the mail. It was from my mother, handwritten on the stationery she reserved for important correspondence. "Dear Sarah," it began, "I've started this letter a dozen times, and each attempt feels inadequate. How do you apologize for a lifetime of making someone feel secondary? Because that's what I'm trying to do here. Apologize not just for the birthday dinner, but for all the times I've prioritized Michael's needs and achievements over yours. Grandma came to see me after she visited you. She was brutally honest about how she's observed us treating you over the years. Her words hurt because they were true. I've spent weeks reflecting on my behavior as a mother, on the different standards I've held you and Michael to, on the way I've taken your love and support for granted while celebrating every small thing your brother does. I can make excuses, that Michael needed more attention as a child, that you were always so independent that I simply didn't realize what I was doing. But excuses don't change the impact of my actions. The truth is, I failed you. We all did. The birthday dinner was inexcusable. There's no justification for celebrating your birthday without you. It was cruel and thoughtless, and I'm deeply ashamed. I understand why you needed to distance yourself from us, and I respect your decision. I don't expect forgiveness, at least not right away. What I'm asking for is a chance to do better, to be the mother you deserve, to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of mutual respect rather than expectation. If you're willing, I'd like to meet for coffee, just the two of us. No pressure, no guilt trips, just an opportunity to talk. With love and deep regret, Mom. I read the letter several times, searching for the defensive tone I'd grown accustomed to, the subtle shifting of blame that usually characterized my mother's apologies. But it wasn't there. This felt different, more genuine, more aware, more accountable. I waited a week before responding, using the time to sort through my feelings with my therapist and to consider what I actually wanted from my relationship with my family moving forward. Finally, I sent a short email, coffee next Saturday, 10 a.m. at the cafe near my apartment, just us. She replied almost immediately, "I'll be there, thank you." Our coffee meeting was awkward at first. We made small talk about the weather, about her drive to the city, about the cafe's pastries. Then, when neither of us could stand the tension any longer, we both started speaking at once. "I'm sorry, I wanted to." We stopped, then smiled hesitantly. "You first," I offered. "I just wanted to say again how sorry I am," she said, looking directly at me instead of at her coffee cup. "Not just for the birthday dinner, but for making you feel like you weren't as important as Michael. You are important, Sarah. You're my daughter, and I love you, and I've done a terrible job of showing that." I nodded, accepting her words. "I need to know something," I said. "Whose idea was it to have that dinner without me, to celebrate my birthday without me there?" She flinched slightly but maintained eye contact. "It was mine. Your father suggested we should do something for your birthday, and I said it would be easier to just have a family dinner without the drive to get you." "It was convenient, Sarah, not malicious. But that doesn't make it any less hurtful or wrong." Her honesty was both painful and refreshing. "And no one questioned this plan? No one said, hey, maybe we should include Sarah in Sarah's birthday celebration?" "Your cousin Jessica did, actually, but I dismissed her concern, said you were too busy with work to make the drive. I convinced myself it was considerate, not excluding." She shook her head. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about how I rationalize things when it comes to you versus Michael." We talked for hours, moving beyond the birthday dinner to the years of unequal treatment, the different standards, the way my accomplishments were acknowledged but rarely celebrated. My mother cried several times, not the manipulative tears I'd seen before when she felt challenged, but genuine tears of remorse and recognition. "I can't change the past," she said as our meeting drew to a close, "but I'm committed to changing our future relationship if you'll give me that chance." It's been 6 months since that coffee meeting. Our relationship is still a work in progress. There are good days and difficult days. My father has also apologized, albeit in his own awkward way, bringing me a toolbox he'd assembled in case you need to fix things around your apartment, but really as a metaphor for fixing our relationship. Michael has been the slowest to acknowledge his role in the family dynamic, still occasionally falling back on, "Sarah's always been jealous of me," as an explanation for our strained relationship, but even he has begun to make small efforts, asking about my work without immediately turning the conversation to his own career. This year, as my birthday approached, I braced myself for disappointment out of habit, but 2 weeks before the date, my mother called to ask if I would like a family celebration, quickly adding, "Only if you want one, it's entirely your choice. We could do dinner at a restaurant you like, or something at our house, or nothing at all if you'd prefer to celebrate differently." The fact that she asked, that she centered my preferences instead of assuming, felt like progress. I opted for a small dinner at my favorite restaurant. When I arrived, I found not just my immediate family, but also Grandma, Jessica, and the cousins who had supported me through the past difficult year. There was a cake, cards, and thoughtfully chosen gifts. More importantly, there was attentiveness. People asking me questions, listening to my answers, engaging with me as a valued member of the family. It wasn't perfect. Old habits occasionally surfaced, like when my father absent-mindedly started talking about Michael's recent promotion during the toast to me, but my mother gently redirected him, and the moment passed without overshadowing the evening. As I blew out the candles on my cake, I realized that the wish I'd made on countless birthday cakes throughout my childhood had finally come true. I was seen, not as an afterthought or an obligation, but as someone who deserved to be celebrated, included, and loved. The journey to this point has been painful, but necessary. Sometimes it takes drastic measures, like declining to participate in the family's unequal traditions, to catalyze change. Was I right to respond the way I did, to refuse Michael's gift and to distance myself until my family acknowledged their behavior? I believe I was. Some lessons can only be learned through consequences, and some relationships can only be saved through temporary separation. Family dynamics don't change overnight, and I remain cautiously optimistic about our future. But for now, I'm celebrating the progress we've made and the birthday I finally got to enjoy, surrounded by people who wanted